I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Rowe.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Present.
Councilman Racy.
Here.
Councilman Porter. Here. Councilman Sanders.
Present.
Councilman Gabriel.
Present.
Councilman Webster.
Here.
You do have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you.
We have 2 moments of silences this evening. The first is a moment of silence for Nicholas Pear and Shannon McIntyre. This is a couple that lived in Wayne that was killed in a head-on collision on 275. Thank you. And then the next is a moment of silence for Marjorie Gale Fraley. She was a longtime resident of the city, teacher in Romulus, and then also a good friend of mine and an election worker also for me. Thank you. Item number 1 is to approve the agenda.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders and supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Item 2 is city council minutes. Item 2A are the regular meeting minutes of December 5th.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any discussion, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3 is a public hearing. Item 3A is a public hearing regarding the Community Development Block Grant for amendments to the 2015-16 program year.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Before you this evening, you have a public hearing. If we do not utilize our CBDG funds by December 31st of this year, we will run the risk of losing them. The county has set forth a return policy this year. If you remember a couple meetings ago, we decided to allocate $20,000 of funds towards a demolition project on Michigan Avenue. As it turns out, that money was not needed. So we were looking at transferring of that 16,247 would be in excess of what would be needed to complete the whole entire project. So we're recommending transferring that, and I'll talk about the line item in a moment. We also had $4,144 of code enforcement money left in the account that I could not account for, in the simple fact that our code enforcement officer only had 6 months into this fiscal year, and that's the only amount that I could bill for, as well as the administrative fees. If you look at your paper, we're looking at sending the $20,391.76 into a category called fire equipment. This is allowable under the CBD code to purchase items for the fire station because it is in a low to moderate income area, and the items that will be purchased we can talk about later, but we want to be able to make use of this money the best way we can. So that's what we're looking at tonight, transferring these items. Those will come before you shortly with a purchase request. So this is a public hearing, as Matt said.
Okay. We will open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the members of the audience? Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, City
evening.
Council. It says amendments to the 2015-16 program year. Does that mean that the money's been there since then?
I'm sorry, your question was the money what?
It says amendments to the 15-16 program year. So is that money just been sitting there all this time? Or is it, carried over each year, and then now all of a sudden we have to do something with it?
It does roll over, and then if we do have any excess, like, if we rolled over anything from,
But now,
14,
but now
15.
they're saying that we could lose it.
yes.
as opposed
yes,
in the past.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, any other discussions? No, okay. We'll close the public hearing. Are any discussions from members of the council? Questions?
I just have a quick question, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Just with regards to money being allocated specifically to the fire department. How did we choose the fire department, say, over both police and fire?
We
Vice
chose the fire department for the simple fact that the fire station proper is in a low to moderate income area. So the items that we would be purchasing are staying in the fire station. Mayor sits on the board and knows that if we got items, say if we got fire hose, okay? We cannot say that that fire hose is gonna only service houses that are in a low to moderate income area. So that's why we had to choose equipment that would stay in the station itself. So with the police department, vehicles, things of that nature, we have to be above a certain threshold with low to moderate income areas to be able to make purchases like that. And it's very difficult to be able to prove that to the county.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions? No? Okay. The wish of council?
Motion to approve.
Support.
It's been, motion was made by Councilman Racy, supported by, I believe, Councilman Webster. Okay. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 4, site plans. Item 4A is site plan number 2017-06. And this is regarding the Michigan Avenue project at 38,000 Michigan Avenue. The gentleman, the developer is here in the back, Steve Schaefer, representing the site plan, and I kind of go through the plan with you. This is going to incorporate a commercial strip development with outlot development also. It's going to be on 7 acres, a little more, 7.04 acres, include 272 parking spaces, also an area at the back for stormwater management. There, it's going to contain, at least at this point, about 24,900 square feet, and we can kind of go to the site plan itself. This is on Michigan Avenue, just west of Newburgh, and this is the Michigan Avenue side. This is kind of where the Cooper Transport is, and then vacant property to the east of that. So there's the Moose Hall, Doug Fraser Dental Clinic, the UAW Local 900, as you go along Michigan Avenue. It's going to be a complete redevelopment of the site. They'll be utilizing one of the existing curb cuts, adding new curb cuts on Michigan Avenue, and then constructing various buildings on the site itself. Phase 1 will be on the east side here, and then they're looking at different phases going forward, and then this outlot here in the front. And as we go forward in the development of the property, if Mr. Schaefer wants to make some amendments, he will be able to do that. We're approving the use, the form of the building, the site plan at this time, that it complies with the ordinance requirements. Of course, we've got this kind of center entranceway here, landscaping around the entire site. At the north part, this is where the detention basin will be constructed, all along that portion. And then, of course, landscaping that. And it's also going to include kind of the two-step cleaning process for the stormwater cleaning and improving the water quality that drains into the Rouge. Also, that's actually a county requirement that will be contained there. The buildings will all have a brick-type construction. This is an example of a facade. It'd be split-face block to the belt, brick here, and then cornice along the top. Of course, any drive-through windows will be on the sides there, like the building is showing. And of course, his hope is to kind of take the buildings, build white boxes, and then be able to occupy the spaces as they do tenant build-outs Any use that is allowed in the B3 zoning district will be a use that's permitted there. And of course, we will be reviewing that when they come for the build-out of each tenant spot. The Planning Commission did recommend approval to the council with 10 conditions. And Mr. Schaefer, I don't know if you want to add something to anything I've done, or feel free to answer any questions.
Well, I'm Steve Schaefer. It's my first time before this board, and it's been a fairly pleasant process working with staff, and the Planning Commission at our last meeting approved the project. I've done a couple of projects on Michigan Avenue. I did the shopping center in Canton at back in Michigan, and then I also did the West Village project. So, you know, I value the high traffic area, and I think that this particular location will lend itself to some good food users that can be utilized, you know, service the Ford facility across the street, as well as we're talking to some coffee and different types of users for the site. So we're excited to move forward. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Anyone on the council have any questions? Yes.
I was at the planning commission, so I know some of the answers to that. But I figured I might as well ask you, what kind of an investment is this that you're going to be making in the
This
community?
will be, when it's all built out, probably somewhere in the area of about $5 million.
Okay. I just want to thank you for looking at Wayne and wanting to invest in our community.
My only question, and I forgot to ask this at the Planning Commission, is the plan here that we have is showing a space for like a 2,100 square foot restaurant
Yes.
in the front, so
Yes.
that would be like a perimeter type build-out?
Like a drive-through,
Okay.
try to keep it lower scale,
Okay.
so you know, don't block visibility to the back.
Okay, well, good. It won't look like a standard strip mall that way either, to me, you know, having something on the perimeter.
Right.
Okay, all right then. Yep.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I ask?
Yes.
Thank you again for choosing Wayne. My question is that, are you engaged in speaking with someone that will be, say, a anchor store?
We've talked to some name brand fast food users and food users. I'd like to get a sit-down restaurant. I am in discussions on one. I'm working with them on another site. I've shown them this site. I'm talking to a pretty prominent coffee type user, maybe for the drive-through in the front. So we're excited about it.
It'll be some of a mixed use
Yes.
sort of retail outlet.
Yes, primarily food, maybe you know, some glasses or something like that. Glasses store or something like
Great,
that.
great.
So we're excited about it.
We are too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? No? Okay. What is the wish of council?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Okay, it was moved by Councilman Porter and supported by Councilman Racy. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Schaefer. Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Any idea when you're going to start? Oh, Mr. Schaefer? I'm sorry, any idea on when you hope to break ground? I know.
The process is moving, you know, fairly quickly. Our engineering plans will be submitted to Wayne County next and to the city as well. So we'll get started on detailed engineering,
Good,
and
okay.
we're excited to get going.
Well, good. Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
holiday.
Bye-bye.
Right, the next item is item 4B. This is a site plan amendment to 2017-04. This is for the Save-A-Lot redevelopment at 34610 Michigan Avenue West. And this is I wanted to bring this back to the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to the council because it was considered a substantial change from the original plans from 2017-04. As they were developing the building itself, they were proposing a brick facade on the structure itself. And that, of course, would have been very pleasurable to me, of course, also to the code. But there are variances that are permitted within the code that allow for, if you're not going to do brick, you can do another kind of treatment on the facade of the building. When they were doing all of the engineering requirements for the brick, the structure could not hold the brick. As you see that kind of 60 scallop along the front canopy, it obviously doesn't render itself to holding that much weight for the facade. So in our ordinance, it does allow for a different facade. It's referred to as hardy plank. In our ordinance, it's called a cement fiber board, but hardy plank is kind of the brand that is what is going to go on this building, or is proposed to go on this building, as opposed to the brick. So I want to just kind of show you what this is looking like. Also, they're going to be doing a complete tenant build-out. They're proposing to have a Planet Fitness in that building itself, and they'll be, of course, knocking down the walls from the 3 units, creating 1 unit, and then also to help in compliance with the ordinance that we have for the downtown facade regulations, they're going to be putting in kind of a focal point on the facade, and I'll show you that, which is right here. That will, of course, highlight the entranceway into the building. It will project out a little more than the regular facade, and then this is the hardy plank. Color is also in your memo. I talked about they're going to have kind of an offset to beige color, and then they will have corporate logo signs for the Planet Fitness on the building itself. Each of these posts that are going along, there's metal posts along the patio or the front porch along there. They'll be encasing those with the hardy board or hardy plank siding also, and then they'll have an offset color in that too. So you can see that there's a small band of color along each of these pillars. And then in accordance to chapter 128809, they have the downtown style street or building lights. That is along the front there. And of course, all those lights have to be directed down in the downtown area. The Planning Commission did approve the amendment to the council. This goes as an amendment for the facade, but all of the other conditions and any of the other pages of the plans that were not amended will still stay in effect.
Okay.
Move
Are there
approval.
any questions?
Support.
Okay, no. It's been moved by Councilman Sanders and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Any questions from council?
Question for Matt.
Yes.
I don't know, you may have said it. With this change, but how much of an investment is that on this building? Do you have an idea?
I don't have that in front of me, but 2 million, I thought.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Mayor Rowe,
Yes.
is there someone this evening that is representing Planet Fitness at all?
They
Or
They
tenant?
called today and they said they were not able to, and I assured them that we could handle the amendment and they wouldn't be present. So I know their architect and engineer is from Canada, and he had a hard time getting over last time, and I think that was going to be an issue tonight too.
Okay,
So.
all right then. My question is, I've noticed they've been actually cleaning the cinder block walls and that.
In preparation
and
for painting.
For painting, so that is just going to be painted?
Yes,
That won't have this,
correct. The hardy.
the hardy board will not be on the sides or the back? Okay, and they'll be doing, I don't remember the initial plan, but they'll be doing some type of a new wall along their, the trash area and such?
Yes, they'll be making repairs to that back.
To that
which
back,
looks
okay.
terrible.
It does, yeah.
And then cleaning up all of the debris,
Okay.
overgrown trees, all of that will be taken care of.
Okay, all right then.
Mayor Rowe?
Yes.
one other question.
Yes.
Any idea when they plan on starting and completing project?
This will be a spring 2018 project, they've told us.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
if I may, through you,
yes.
is there a way that we can also ask for them to use construction fences to block off the property to ensure the safety of residents and also for, I guess, eye pleasure, if you will, driving down during the construction phase?
I don't, well, we could look into that for sure. A construction fence around the entire building or the lot itself?
Whichever they see fit.
Because I know that they've been in discussion with the utilization of St. Mary's, and, which is it's always been a good neighbor policy along there. The church has made contact with the property owner to talk about their friendliness as being neighbors. So, because even I park there. So, but anyways, so that would be, it could hinder that for sure. But we can talk about, with the developer, about exactly what they're going to do for that. I assume the hardy plank is going to go on very fast, actually, so.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Anybody from the audience? Okay. It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, item 5 are ordinances and amendments. Item 5A is the first reading of ordinance 2017-07. These are amendments to chapter 678, which is titled Minors in Possession.
Okay, is,
I can, if I may, I can
Yes.
speak on this issue,
Okay.
Mayor. The state of Michigan amended their minors in possession statute, which is a criminal offense, obviously a minor possessing alcohol under the age of 21. They changed it to where in the first offense is a civil infraction as opposed to a misdemeanor. Our ordinance was consistent with state law, so the first offense under our local ordinance was also a misdemeanor. So we had to go through and clean up our ordinance and just make some revisions to make sure that it was consistent with state law. When someone is caught on that offense in the city of Wayne, we do like to charge them under our local ordinance. So the city prosecutor would handle the crime, and it would be handled locally in our court. So in order to do that, we had to amend our ordinance to make sure it was consistent with state law. And we've done that, and you see that we have a red line revision here showing that the first offense is a civil infraction, and then a second or subsequent offense is a misdemeanor.
okay. All right then. Okay, any questions, members of council?
Motion to approve.
Support.
It's been moved by Mayor, Councilman Porter and supported by, was it Councilman Webster? Okay. Any further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item is item 5B. This is the first reading of ordinance 2017-08. This is amendments to chapter 211, Emergency Services Reimbursement.
Okay. Fire Chief Stratner?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
What this is the current ordinance, Chapter 211, is basically specific to emergency services reimbursement, and it's more specific to alcohol-related accidents and hazardous materials response. What fire is requesting is we want to expand our emergency services reimbursement to include all emergency responses, to include the use of a fire truck, the use of an ambulance, the use of personnel at the scene of a fire, at the scene of an accident. And it would be broken down into different billing levels, but these are all permitted fees under a person's homeowner's insurance and/or business insurance. 9 out of 16 communities that we work with currently do cost recovery successfully. All it requires is an amendment to this ordinance. And the intent is that basically if we go on a car accident or we go on to a structure fire where there's property damage, if an insurance claim is being filed, we attach our allowable fees to that insurance claim, so to speak. And certainly not all fees are covered that are in our fee structure, but a good portion of them are. And these costs would not be passed on to the homeowners if the insurance company shouldn't pass it. It is an insurance reimbursement only.
Okay. All right. Any questions from council?
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Saunders.
It's Sanders.
Sanders, I'm sorry, and approved by Councilman Gabriel. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
All right,
Chief.
thank you. Have a great holiday.
You as well, thank you.
Item 6 is appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. 6A is to approve the reappointment of Deborah Wass to the Board of Review until December 2018.
Move approval.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Sanders and supported by Councilman Webster, or was it
Gabriel.
Gabriel? Okay, Councilman Gabriel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6B is to approve the reappointment of Willie Coleman to the Board of Review until December 2018.
Move approval.
Support. It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Sanders. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6C is to approve the reappointment of Albert Demitio to the Board of Review until December 2018.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders and supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6D is to approve the resignation of Terry Schenk from the Board of Review.
Move approval with letter.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders and supported by Councilman Gabriel with letter of thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6E is to approve the reappointment of James Demmer to the DDA until December 2021.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7 are communications. Item 7A is the October 30th, 2017 Revenue and Expenditure Report.
Receive and file, ma'am.
Okay.
Item 7B is the November 30th, 2017 Revenue and Expenditure Report.
Receive and file, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
Item 7C is a memo from the police chief regarding Kids Talk.
Okay. Chief, do you have any comments to make on this?
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council.
Good evening.
This is just an MOU between Wayne County and local law enforcement agencies, just regarding the procedures of using Kids Talk during our investigations. We already do this. This is kind of for a formality, solidifying what we already do.
Okay. Do we need a approval or, no, nothing,
No.
just receive and file?
Receive and file.
Okay, all right.
Thank
Thank you. All right.
Item 7D is a communication from the Wayne Historical Society about holiday nights and upcoming events. And Ann Zimmerman is
Hi,
here.
everybody.
Hello.
Ann Zimmerman from the Wayne Historical Society. And I do want to report that we had a very successful Wayne tree lighting ceremony on December 2nd. And thank you for attending. There's so many of this council people were there in administration. It was really nice to see everybody. This event was sponsored by many people, and I want to read the names of the people that gave their time or money to this event to make it. It was a safe, fun, memorable event for the kids and family. I want to thank B&G Bookkeeping, Ute Funeral Home, Wayne Garden Club, Judy and Bruce Folk, Henry's Auto Center, Nancy Pride, Wayne Senior Alliance, Wayne Westland Credit Union, the Loyal Order of Moose, Imperial Press, CLS Holdings Company, George Gerbstad, Jan Gurman and the American Jetway Corporation, Don Nicholson Enterprises, Ann Zimmerman, Carol Bavard, First Methodist Church of Wayne, the First Congregational Church of Wayne, St. Joseph's Church and School Choir, St. Mary's Church School and their choir, Wayne Rotary, John Racy, the Notre Dame Knights of Columbus, Wayne Main Street, Wayne Goodfellows, Wayne Chamber of Commerce, the Wayne Memorial Music Department, Marching Band and Choir and their Service Club, the Village Dance and Company Dancers, Angie and Kurt of Kurt's Caps of Wayne, Wayne's Tubby Submarine, McDonald's of Wayne, Mr. and Mrs. Paul Cook, Ed and Susan Rowe, Ed Queen, Westland J.C.'s, Pat Hartford, Tom and Mary Ann Daly, Philip and Alicia Marnin, the Wayne Historical Society members and museum volunteers. I don't want to leave out Scotty's Potties for donating the, and the Tribute Rosies from the Willow Run Bomber Plant, and our Wayne Fire Department for using the fire truck in the parade, bringing Pat Rice. It was a good event. We collected enough money to pay all of our bills. We do have reservations for the Chamberlain Petting Farm and also a wagon, a horse-drawn wagon for next year, which would be December 1st. So it's going to come early again. Mark your calendars. It was successful, and I think everybody had a good time. We had plenty of cookies and hot chocolate. We had things going on inside. We have had lots of music. John did a wonderful job with the sound, emceeing the parade. We'd like maybe next year to talk about maybe a different route for the parade, if we can talk about that maybe closer to that time period and see what we could change with the parade. But are there any questions or concerns that anybody had?
Mayor?
Yes.
I think we also need to include Santa Claus for coming in, accepting this key to the city.
He did, and you know, that was, we have to thank Wayne Main Street and the Knights of Columbus for Santa Claus.
It was
He
really
did a
nice.
fine job, and the mayor for introducing Santa, and it was just a nice, and the weather was very, the next week it
Cooperative.
snowed. Yes. So it was like, wow. But I also have John Mills here, because I want to let everybody know that the Wayne Museum will be opened all winter. We're not closing for the winter like some museums do. And we have programs going on, too.
Yes, if you were not able to attend our presentation on December 14th on our first Families of Wayne program, that was taped and it is on the Historical Society's Facebook page, so you could watch it there. Coming up on January 11th, we have the history of the mid-century modern architecture. February 8th at the museum, we're going to have history of amusement parks in this area. March 8th, we have the history of the post office, and the presenter there is retired Wayne Westland clerk Terry Laraway Gretzky. And we're working on the April program. One of the things we want to do is have an off-site presentation at Carpenter Lake, the cabins and things of that nature. So we're working on that for either April or June, and we'll have a program for the other month. And then in May, we have a presentation of the Detroit Urban Railway. Ken Schramm will be the presenter for that one. Thank you.
Very good.
And
Thank
the
you.
museum store, if anybody's still looking for Christmas gifts, will be open Wednesday, tomorrow, and Thursday. We have books, T-shirts, postcards, so if you're looking for something, come on in, and we're open. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Item 8 are general items for consideration. Item 8A is to approve the transfer of funds in the amount of $4,144.23 from the CDBG Code Enforcement to Fire Equipment.
Move approval.
Support.
And Lori, do you want to explain anything more or any questions?
This is just the transfer.
The transfer.
Explain, so
Right.
We'll come up when it's time for the purchase approval. I'll
Okay.
explain that if that's okay.
That's fine. Okay. Any discussion? It's moved by Councilman
Gabriel?
Gabriel and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8B is to approve the transfer of funds in the amount of $16,247.53 from the Community Development Grant Code Demolition to Fire Equipment.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Sanders. Any questions? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8C is to approve the purchase of two Motorola APX 45,000 radios in the amount of $7,134 from ComSource, Inc., Plymouth, Michigan, to be paid from the Community Development Block Grant fiscal year 15-16 budget.
Move approval.
Support.
Was moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Gabriel. And presentation, please.
Yes. I have with me Deputy Chief Schneider tonight. He's going to explain to you the necessity for these items. Again, I just want to remind you that the reason that we are able to get these items is because they are going to stay in the station. I know that when you look at the explanation of the Motorola radio, it says remote mount. I went and took photos of that today to show the two locations. One of those radios will go in the kitchen, the other will go in the deputy chief's office. That's just the type of radio it is. And I won't even begin to try and explain the PosiCheck system. So, Chief?
Madam Mayor, Council, the Motorola radios are replacing, as Lori said, the two that are located and stay within the station, that it gives us the announcements over our airways, or over our speakers inside of the station. It's going to replace the two radios in there because we can't get parts for those radios any longer. As far as the PosiCheck, that is the Posi test bench is it's a machine that tests the SCBA's. So anytime that our technicians do any repairs on our SCBA's, they have to test that SCBA before it can be put back into service. Without this machine, it has to be sent out. So this machine will allow the turnaround time for the repairs and for that SCBA to get placed back into service much faster. Also, it is going to be a cost savings to the city as well, for us having that equipment.
Okay, could you just tell us what SCBA's are?
Very much. Oh, I'm sorry. An SCBA stands for self-contained breathing apparatus. That
That's
is
what I thought, yeah.
the tank
The
that we
tank,
wear on our
right.
back. And then it also tests the mask that we put on our face.
Okay, all right then. Okay, we'll take the first motion that we have. Councilman Racy moved and Councilman Gabriel supported the purchase of the radios. Any further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is the,
Move approval on the item D, which is the Honeywell Posi 3 test bench in the amount of $12,227.70 from Douglas Safety Systems.
okay, is there support?
Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to
Questions?
ask Assistant Chief Snyder if, is there training that's going to be involved in that, or will the company provide the training with this test bench, or?
We actually already have 3 technicians
Okay.
trained. Yep. And it's a yearly training that they have to keep up on the licensure as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for finding a way to spend that money for us. Don't want to give it back to the county.
The next two items, item 8E and F, I did send a list of all the council meetings for next year, and as I was preparing those, two of them kind of conflict with election dates. So item 8E is to approve canceling the regular city council meeting on Tuesday, August 7th, 2018 at 8 PM and call a special meeting for Monday, August 6th, 2018 at 7.
Move approval.
Move approval. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy and supported by Councilman Sanders. All in favor?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
may I suggest the time being stayed at 8 o'clock?
I'll support that.
Okay. Councilman Racy?
I'd prefer to keep it at 7.
Oh, because the next day
The
you
next
have
day,
to,
yeah.
yes.
He's got,
Unless
Yeah,
we
the
can-
reason
we
for
can
the
cancel
7.
if you'd like, that'd be great.
The reason the 7 o'clock time is because they have to be able to show up at, what, 6 o'clock?
for the
Oh,
poll.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock at the precincts the next day. So,
Are we able to do it Wednesday by chance? Mondays are just hard for me to get off early.
what's,
I mean, if it's gonna cause a
pleasure,
problem,
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah. Well, if we could just state, if you can get here as soon as you can, that would be appreciated. Okay? Wish of council, go with 7, stick at 7? Okay. It was moved by Councilman Racy and supported by Councilman Sanders for the August 7th meeting to be on Monday, August the 6th at 7 o'clock. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8F is to approve canceling the regular city council meeting for Tuesday, November 6th, 2018 at 8 PM and call a special meeting for Monday, November 5th, 2018 at 7 PM.
Move approval.
Okay, it was moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Racy, to change the meeting from the November 6th meeting to November the 5th at 7. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 8G is to approve Budget Amendment 2018-03 for various adjustments to the fiscal year 2017-18 budget.
Move
Okay.
approval.
Support.
Councilman Sanders, motion to approve, and Councilman Gabriel supported. Mr. Camilleri and Katie, any brief presentation?
Be very, very brief. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I believe that this budget amendment is a really good example of good news, and still, let's be a little bit concerned. I don't want to call it bad news. I just want to say concerned. Just to remind everyone, a couple months ago, we met one-on-one to go through some of the things that are included in the budget amendment, as well as the things that we didn't necessarily account for in this 18 budget when it first came out, because we thought it was going to happen in 17. And just because of where the dividing line is, things happen either before or after that line, as I'm sure you recall. So the good news is that 17, although the audit's not issued yet, finished much better than what the budget would have indicated, primarily because of these things that did go into the next year. And there have been some new revenues, some significant new revenues that are included in this amendment, including grants that I'm sure you're aware of, but then also the personal property tax reimbursement. So without going into a lot of detail, there has been a change in the way a portion of it was calculated in Lansing, which resulted in the payment that the city of Wayne received was 4 times what it was last year. Now that gets spread amongst every fund that has its own millage. So local streets got a portion, library gets a portion, rubbish gets a portion. But general fund got over $500,000 that we weren't anticipating. So that's excellent. Can't say it's going to recur in any future year, because this thing seems to change year to year. But for the time being, let's be happy that we had that windfall. On the downside, again, I didn't want to say bad news, but the retiree healthcare lawsuit is obviously a large additional expense that the city has to incur that wasn't part of the original budget. And so that's in here, along with an additional expense for MERS, the pension contribution. So altogether, it is an amendment that creates an additional expense over revenue of $400,000. But when you factor in that the healthcare and pension portion was $1 million, that's a positive swing when you pull that out. Now, why is it positive? Why do we have so many positive things going on? Well, this is where you really need to tip your caps to your department heads, because they have done a phenomenal job of controlling costs where able. So there are open positions that we'd love to fill, of course, but as they are still open, there are savings there every single day. People that have, or departments that have the option of working it within multiple funds have been doing work in funds other than the general fund to protect the general fund. They're still being, super productive, going above and beyond to get things done, but they're going out of their way to help the general fund out. And so you really do, salute to the department heads, because they're doing a bang-up job. So altogether, is this a positive amendment? Well, no, because of the expense on the retiree health care. But there are a dozen really good, really positive things that are included here that is just demonstrative of the hard work that the city is doing to try to turn the ship around. Any questions on anything that's in this amendment?
Mayor, I
Yes.
just want to ask, is you said there was a $500,000 increase in state revenue sharing reversed to the city?
Not state revenue sharing, in the personal property tax reimbursement.
Okay. Is that a $500,000 over last year's dollar amount? Is that what you're
So
saying to us?
last year in total, so you have to spread it across the funds, but in total, you received $180,000 in change. This year was over 700,000. So general fund got 547,000 of that.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask you, when we had met, you had mentioned that you were going to double check with the Treasury that they didn't make a mistake because of what some of the other communities lost.
Yeah, so when these came out and I saw that you got 4 times what you did last year, and some of my other clients had 4 times what they got last year. And then there were some of the larger cities that were receiving millions of dollars less than what they received last year. Obviously, it raised questions. And everything that's coming out of the state is telling us, yes, we changed the formula and this is what it is.
Is there like a time frame that, we get to keep it whether they mess up or?
Unfortunately, if they change their mind, then I'm sure that will
We're not
trickle
giving
down
it.
no matter how. I don't
We're
think
not
there's
giving
a
it back, sorry.
Statute of limitations. on
Yes,
that.
is there a statute of limitations?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, all right, well, any questions at all? No? All right, well, thank you very much, appreciate all the hard work you're doing, and Katie, do you have anything to add? No? Okay, all right then, well, thank you very much, appreciate it. All in favor of budget amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
You too. Thank you.
Item 8H is to approve the resolution for the intent to create and provide for the operation of a City of Wayne Brownfield Redevelopment Authority.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Webster. Yes.
Good evening again. Got lots of good news tonight. Just to give a brief explanation for individuals who may not be familiar with the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Basically what we are doing, this is used in a lot of communities. It's just another economic development tool that we have available to us that we can use to help attract new development or to close a funding gap with projects. I know this is specifically about creating a brownfield authority, but we do have a potential of a project, the Metro Storage Project on Michigan Avenue, that would be able to take advantage of a program such as this. And basically, I guess to explain it the easiest way so people at home understand, the authority that we're creating is a board that will exist, and it can be made up of your TIFA members, your DDA members. In this case, we're hoping to talk with our DDA board to utilize them since they're familiar with development processes to serve as our 5-member board. This board has no authority other than to vote on a brownfield plan should one come before them. In Westland, we didn't have one for 18 years. I had 2 in 2 years, so it just depends on what happens. These types of tax incentive programs are used to incentivize brownfield cleanups or also demolition of building that might be functionally obsolete. We're looking right now at creating this board. As I mentioned, what'll happen is when a new development comes into an area, they will have eligible activities that they'll have activities that they may perform, such as demolition, asbestos testing, the preparation of their brownfield plan that they're eligible to get reimbursed for. The city will still get the same amount of money, their tax increment that they had before. The reimbursement to the developer comes in that incremental tax dollar, or that amount that's new tax money to the city. So if we were to generate $100,000 a year of new tax revenue, and we owe the developer $50,000, we would work out a plan with him that after he pays his taxes every year, we would cut him a check back, say for $10,000 a year. So we're still gaining, we're still making money, we can charge an administrative fee, so we can actually set up a brownfield revolving loan fund, and we're getting a development done. So it's gonna help us, it's gonna give us a board in place that any time a project came forward, that we had an opportunity to put new tax dollars on the tax rolls, we'll have this tool that we can bring this board together, have them, all they do is review the plan, and they make recommendation to the council. The council is the body that would recommend the plan. The city attorney's office would be very involved in reviewing the brownfield plan as well. So at this time, we're simply asking for the authority to be created, or for a public hearing to be called, and the intent to create a brownfield redevelopment authority. If there's any other questions, I can answer them.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned the Metro Storage being able to use it and also using it for a building that is not operable or usable. Would Cadillacs or the apartments that are half burnt fall into that category?
There's a very good possibility we could do something like that there if we could get someone to agree to come in and demo the building and do a new development. If it's just for demolition only, there's no incremental tax dollar, there's no benefit. But absolutely, I would say that would be a very good idea.
My question is, there is, the Wayne County does have one of these authorities, correct?
They have one for big projects
For
that
big
they do,
projects.
Detroit, different areas like that, yes.
Okay, all right, so we couldn't like piggyback onto theirs because ours are too small?
We would use our own authority, so we capture, because we're getting that revenue.
Okay.
This project specifically is in the DDA. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to add to that, Brita, or if I've got that covered.
No, I think whether you talk about the ability to use the Wayne County Board that's already been formed, I think technically we could, but I would advise against it,
Okay.
mainly because we want to make sure that our processes keep moving in a manner that's consistent with our development, our developers wanting to proceed in an expeditious fashion. And once you start putting that in the responsibility of maybe a different municipality or entity, then I think it falls outside of our control. So in order to maintain control and have direct input on the process and how it moves along, I think it would be best to utilize our own board. Because these are used so infrequently, that's why we talked about maybe utilizing an existing board that already exists, because they have the knowledge, such as the DDA or a board similarly. They don't meet very frequently. You heard Lori say, she went 18 years without one in Westland. So it's not the type of board that you would create an independent board, but instead just task a board that already meets with having a dual role in the event that we do receive a plan. As council may or may not be aware, Paul Bond from my office is an environmental attorney. This is what he does exclusively, and he's very well known for his knowledge and this expertise in this area. So I can make him available at a public hearing if he has if there are more specific questions that council would like asked, or in the event that the public has questions concerning the process. Mr. Bond is aware of that and has offered to come and answer questions directly on the subject matter. And then in the event that Metro Storage or any future facility submitted a brownfield plan, he would be the one from my office that would be reviewing the plan with his level of expertise. I think it's definitely an asset to the city. So I will work with Ms. Goen and see if Mr. Bond is available at one of the public hearings or, to answer questions before a council meeting. But I think just for the reason that we don't want our process hindered, and I don't want it delayed, because we do have Metro Storage, I think, that is hopefully going to utilize this process and keep their development moving along. It's best to have our own local board. It does not take a lot of work.
When we had discussed this one day last week, you had stated that John and I sit on the DDA board, and because we're elected, we could not be on the Brownfield Authority Board.
It's not illegal for you to be on the board. You could serve on the Brownfield Board, it's just uncommon. It doesn't typically happen because of the fact that you are ultimately voting on the Brownfield plan. So I'm only required to have 5 members. So just my recommendation that we have you stay in your role as council members, and the DDA board is serving as our Brownfield Board.
I agree with that. Okay. All right, then. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori.
The next item is in conjunction with that, but a separate motion.
Right.
Would be item 8I. This is to approve calling the public hearing for Tuesday, January 16, 2018, at 8 p.m. for the establishment of the City of Wayne Brownfield Redevelopment Authority.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Any discussion over the date and time? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 8J is to approve a resolution for the purposes of refinancing general obligation bonds.
Move approval.
Support.
Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. I'm Tom Coles with Miller Canfield. I have the pleasure of serving as the city's bond counsel. And so we have an opportunity to refund some existing debt that the city has outstanding. So there are 3 bond issues. There's the 2004, the 2006 capital improvement bonds, and we did a 2007 series that was a refunding of part of the 2004 bonds. All 3 of those bonds can be called early, paid off early. So the idea here is to issue one series of refunding bonds that would take out all the existing maturities left of the 2004, 2006, and 2007 bonds. The idea is we put in lower interest rate bonds to take out those higher interest rate bonds. So the bonds would be issued to actually fund an escrow. The escrow actually is a pretty short escrow. It's only about 30 days because all of those 3 prior bond issues have redemption periods that they're currently callable, and we can actually refund those with a 30-day notice. So our escrow, so the proceeds would come in from the refunding bond issue, they'd go into this escrow, and the proceeds would pay the prior bondholders on the call date and cost of issuance associated with the bonds. That's the only purpose for which those bonds would be issued for, would be to refund those prior bonds and pay cost of issuance. So the resolution in front of you provides for bonds to be issued in an amount not to exceed 11.7 million. There's about 11.5 million outstanding of these prior bonds. The additional component would pay for cost of issuance associated with those. And again, that's a not to exceed amount. We would determine when we actually get into the market as to whether we need all of those proceeds. And all you're doing is sizing your escrow fund and your cost of issuance. So that's all we're going to look at. We're not funding any other cost associated with the project or with the projects that were financed with those proceeds. And just for a refresher for some council members, the 2004 and 2006 bonds were issued to finance capital improvements, mostly to the water supply and sewage disposal system. So it really reduces the debt service on those bonds going forward. So again, we haven't got in the market yet to establish the rates, but the estimated savings is just over $900,000 in total. Because there are 3 series of bonds that have different final maturities, the idea is we're not going to extend the maturity for any of the individual pieces. So, for example, the 2004 bonds would mature by themselves in 2021. The 2006s would mature in 2031, and the 2007s mature in 2029. So all we're doing is taking those existing maturity schedules, and this new bond issue would match those. So there actually won't be a level debt service because we're just gonna layer each of those 3 on one issue. So we're not extending the maturity of any particular issue. We're gonna keep those same maturity. So the savings kind of change over the years based upon how much is out there. It starts, the estimated savings, about $70,000 a year in the first few years. Then it jumps up to about $90,000 to $95,000 annually. And then at the very end, the last 2, since there's only 2 years left of basically that 2006 deal that are really left, it's down to about $45,000 worth of savings. But that's savings annually, which is just due to the reduction of the interest rate based on those things. And those numbers include paying whatever costs are associated with actually issuing these bonds. So they're net of all those savings. So the resolution, again, authorizes the issuance of bonds for that purpose. It authorizes the city manager and finance director to actually execute the sale of those bonds and actually put the team together. The team basically would include Miller Canfield as bond counsel, Benzinski and Company as the city's financial advisor, and they've been the city's financial advisor for many years. And would authorize the city manager and finance director to actually negotiate the sale of the bonds with an investment banking firm. And it established that's the proper method for selling these bonds for this purpose, as opposed to publishing a notice in the bond buyer and receiving bids across the country. Because we're trying to match the escrow amount with securities that we're going to buy to go into the escrow, we're going to want to pick the right day to be able to do that, and a negotiated sale gives us that best method for doing that. So that's the recommendation from the financial advisor, and almost all of the refunding deals that we do are done through that method of sale. The plan is to try to get into the market in early February, close by the end of February, and April 1 would be the redemption date for all of the 3 issues. So hopefully execute this all early next year, so that for the rest of the 18 fiscal year, you'd have the new interest rate into effect for the one series of bonds that would remain in replace of those other 3.
Thank you.
Is there any questions on the process, the resolution? Be happy to answer those.
And-
Mayor, I do have a
yes.
question. Do communities have a credit rating? And if so, I would assume that this will help improve our credit rating for the city. And then my next question is, where is our credit rating at right now?
So right now, I think we're in the triple B category. So credit rating there's a lot that goes into a credit rating. Reducing your debt service will have a positive impact on one of the criteria that goes into the credit rating. So it may not ultimately change that just by this one singular action, but it certainly would have a positive effect on that. It would positively impact one of the criteria. So we would go out to one of the rating agencies to get these bonds rated themselves. So we'll see exactly in that circumstance what the bonds will be rated, and if we maintain within that triple B category.
And then I have to ask, in the future, if we were to redo this process, we would have a better chance of a lower interest rate for future bonds?
Yeah, so the better your rating is, the lower the interest rate effectively, right? So a rating really reflects the likelihood that an investor is going to get their debt service repaid. So if we can get ourselves up into the A category, that ultimately means a reduction in the interest rate that the city would pay on future debt issues.
So is a double B AA minus?
Wait, say that again?
Triple B.
So
double B.
Triple B actually goes, so it starts at triple A, double A, single A, triple B, double B, single B.
Thank you.
So the goal would be to get up into the A category.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. The motion has been made by Councilman Sanders, approved by Councilman Gabriel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Great, thank you, my pleasure.
Have a good holiday.
Yes, happy holidays, thank you.
Next item is item 8K. This is to approve the purchase agreement with Pure Clouds LLC for the purchase of a parcel 55-01-99-0011-003. This is a 2.57 acre parcel of land on Van Born Road, east of Cogswell, for $105,000.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Sanders and supported by Councilman Porter. Any questions?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Do we know what the intended use of this parcel is going to be?
Ms. Swain?
Yes, he is present, yes.
I'll let him respond.
Okay.
The intent is to make a cultivation center. If you guys were to opt into the new state license, if that intent doesn't go through and you guys don't proceed for that, I've been in the manufacturing field for 18 years, and I was going to make a smaller machine shop. I work in Romulus currently, which is not too far away, so I drive back and forth through the lot. That's how I found it.
Okay.
So that was my intention. Originally, my realtor had said that originally was going to be the machine shop. I've been looking with him for the last year, so he took it as that's what I was going to do. And because it was land, I've never tried to purchase land. I didn't know you guys needed to know the intent. So he already had, I guess, submitted that I was going to be the machine shop at first. So that's where now I'm disclosing that that's what I would like to do.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Another question through the chair?
Sure.
Are you currently licensed through the state?
Yes, for a caregiver, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Yes, Ms. Pride.
Is this the property that we had, that we put all the infrastructure down and roadways that was supposed to be an industrial park?
No, no. Any other questions? Yes.
Who owns this piece of property?
We do.
We do. Since when?
I don't know, a long time.
How about 1987? According to some documents, it says, well, you don't know what they're gonna build there. They said, the application to you with your signature on it says they're gonna build a welding shop there.
That's what we initially were told, yes.
That's what it says in the document, so before the public, you say, he doesn't know what they're gonna build there, or whoever. We've owned it since 1987, we, the city, where have all the taxes been? And how many inspections have you gotten? And it's just today we decide to unload it, and documents that are being forwarded to the council or offices thereof stipulate that that's exactly what it is and who the purchaser is and everything. So it says that you got a copy of it.
Yes, we do have a copy. This is a piece of property that has been listed with Colliers, that we approved Colliers
And
to
it's
market for us.
And it, through mayor, it says that she was given, if you got any questions,
She who?
Ms. Dorncini, the city manager, if you got any questions, you, the councilor, to ask her. How do we resolve selling city property? By what means is it sold? I mean, who has the final say? You?
Yes, we do. The council does, yes.
But how well informed have you of what's been going on here?
I really don't understand your question.
The process, how it arrives to you, from the planning commission, the zoning people. We own the piece of property, it's Colliers. Our city attorney has undertaken the thing to get clear titles for these
Yes,
properties
yes.
before we sell them.
Yes.
So here we are, we've done our steps. I just want to
Right.
know who has the final call to, you, the voting people up there?
Yes.
Have the right to sell the property
Yes,
with the knowledge to tell the public what you're selling, and the application is just like the Krusty Kreme donut place that went to 5 different types of coffee shops. If the applicant makes an application and he's gonna make little rubber toys down there, he's making rubber toys. He wants to change his mind and make up metal toys, bring it back, okay? There seems to be a conflict of communication and information when we're selling these properties. Thank you very much.
okay,
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Osborne, when we listed these properties with Colliers, they are aware of what they're zoned for. And the potential buyer of that property knows it's zoned for industrial. At that point, his agent had told us he was going to be building a welding shop.
That's right.
That's what he had told us.
that's
And
what
then
the
we got
public document
notification
says.
last week that that was now changing. When we requested actual plans, we were notified by the purchaser that, no, he is trying to get his, the medical marijuana process he's going through to get a license.
Oh, yeah, that there, yeah, I got a little high on that one too, yeah. See, it takes a little while to get tangled up with where these properties are going, and now we just happen to, I don't have a card, sorry.
Well, Mr. Osborne, we sell this property because our contract with Colliers states, if we do not sell the property to a buyer, a valid buyer, we still have to pay Colliers for their fee, which
Well,
is
if they're misconstruing us, Colliers, hey, they say he's gonna build a welding shop, so be it a welding shop. If you want it to be a marijuana carry card,
Thank you.
it's like Mr. Saunders brought it to your attention.
Thank you.
Hey, if you're selling the ABC building and it does need repair and it doesn't repair, Colliers, hey, one or the other, you know?
Thank you.
Let's have some straight information, because it costs a lot of money to get freedom of information. I can see what you're really doing with this property.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mills. Mr. Mills.
Say anything to you.
If I understand this
do you have-
correctly, he's simply buying the property right now.
Right now, he is buying the property.
If he wishes to have the zoning changed for a new purpose, that's something he's got to bring back to the council and all that
Correct.
anyway.
Correct, and, right,
Put up a structure, he's got to get approval, and
right.
so this is step one, he's buying property.
He's buying property, and right now it's industrial, and if we do not do an ordinance, if we do not opt in, he's going to build his welding facility.
Yeah, so this is certainly step one, and makes
Yes.
sense to me to support
Yes.
his request to purchase.
He's
this
paying us
property.
$10,000 more than we listed it for.
Yes.
so,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
could you also explain that Colliers is not responsible for deciding what they're going to do with
Right.
the land? They're
Right.
just here, do you want to buy it or not?
Yes.
Right?
And
They
maybe I
let
could speak
them-
on that
yes.
issue, Mayor.
I just want to make sure we
Okay.
clarify
Yes.
that.
So our standard purchase agreement that our office drafts at any given point specifically states that the city does not represent that the property is permissible for any use outside of what is permitted under
Right.
both our business use regulations and our zoning ordinances. So in this particular purchase agreement that I think is attached in your packet, if you were to look at paragraph 9, it states that the purchaser acknowledges and agrees that it is purchasing the property in an as-is, whereas condition, and the seller makes no representation or warranties as to the property's condition or its permitted uses. So the purchaser of any property is required to make sure that the property they're purchasing falls within, that the proposed use for that property falls within the appropriate zone. You know, here we have an industrial type zone, and our current industrial zoning ordinance is what would apply with regard to use of that property, period.
Right.
So in the event that the city chooses not to opt in on any future medical marijuana facilities licensing ordinance, then essentially the purchaser is buying the property at its own peril or to its own risk. The city is not responsible for a decision that a purchaser makes in purchasing a piece of property if they're doing so at their own behest and when their potential proposed use is not in compliance with our zoning ordinance. We see this all the time in other businesses where, you know, they buy a property and they represent one use, and then as they use the property, their use kind of morphs into a different use. And that's when we have to go out and we have to, through code enforcement, say, you're not using the property in accordance with zoning code, and we rectify it. As to this property, it's vacant land. So of course, there's going to be a process within the city that if they want to develop that, just like we see developments occurring throughout, there's going to be some checks and balances to make sure that the proposed use is in compliance with the zoning code. So in that regard, by approving the purchase, we are selling the property as is, whereas, and making no expressed representations or assurances that this property is going to be able to be used in any manner other than what is currently in place in our zoning code right now, on the day we sign that agreement.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Fisher.
Just a point of clarification. Len Fisher, Winifred Street. Just a point of clarification. The commission is not, it's not required to be paid until after the approval of this and then the signing of the purchase agreement, right?
Right, correct.
So right now, there's nothing, the city isn't on the hook for anything.
So we are.
Yes.
Yes. If we would refuse to sell, we
Okay.
would still have to pay.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Welcome to the community.
Item 9 are administration reports.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Good evening. Just a couple of reports tonight. I know that DT has been a hot button for everybody. I sent the council a little bit of a report lately. We're not through the weeds yet, so hold on. We did have a meeting yesterday with DTE, and we found out that they have, imagine this, flaws. What has happened with a lot of the lights is that there was supposed to be new wiring put into these lights, and the contractor did not do that. They skipped. They were held accountable by DTE, and DTE took them to task, and according to them, and they have been replacing all that wiring. So the other thing was, and this was not DTE's fault, it's faulty technology. Some of the kits that came were faulty. They did get 25 new kits to do replacements, and so they have assured us that they're going to work on this. The one thing that we made clear is that this is a grant from the state, and we owe the state an explanation of where the project is at, and if the project is not moving forward, we have to let the state know that. So we're going to give them a little bit of time to rectify the situation. Not much time, though. It's been months, and so we'll probably in the new year see where things are at. I personally actually drove tonight through the city, and I was sending an email and not driving and texting or emailing, but I did send an email to our contact, and I did outline many, many lights that were out on Michigan Avenue East, West, and in other parts of the city. So we're working very hard to make sure that this problem is fixed, and I apologize for the inconvenience.
Bless you.
Bless you.
The other thing is council, at your spots, I don't need to go over this, but I've been giving you updated dashboards. and the dashboard. I just want to explain something that I missed. Mayor had made the recommendation that I put asterisks next to things that are new or things that I have added or that are updated. So when you see asterisks next to these items, you'll know that these are new or added. You'll see that I added more properties. These are like some of our lots in the city, and a few of them have been sold. And basically what this dashboard is it just gives an ability for the council to see all the things we've been accomplishing. Items are in red that are still pending, or that are not moving yet. Yellow is pending and green is completed. So we went from one page, and I want to thank council because we went, and the staff, because we went from 1 page to 2.5 pages now of things that we've been able to accomplish. I hope to get this somehow, some way, work with Jeff, our IT director, to get this online at some point, just to show how hard we're all working. So I just wanted to make sure you had an updated copy of that.
So it will at some point be available on our website for the residents?
Correct. I don't want to just put it on like
Right.
this. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it so that it's nice and clear.
Okay.
And then I just want to attest to what Brian had said. I just want to thank all the employees for all the sacrifices and the fact that they continue to work very hard. They've continued to give 100%. This is a team effort amongst all of us. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for everything that you're doing. And those that are not here this evening, you do work very hard, and the city is very lucky to have you. And on that note, I just want to say happy holidays to everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item are citizens' comments or requests on items not on the agenda. Citizens are to limit their comments or requests to 3 minutes. The city council asks that if you do have a question or concern, to bring it to the attention of the appropriate departments whenever possible. If you feel that the matter has not been resolved satisfactorily, you are encouraged to bring it to the attention of the city manager, and if still not resolved satisfactorily, to the mayor and the city council. The mayor, the city council, and the department heads may not respond to questions at the meeting, but will respond by the next city council meeting or as soon as possible once they've looked into the matter.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Vern Amos. I live on Stellwagen. My main purpose for coming to the podium tonight is to please remind our citizens to lock their cars and trucks at night. I continuously read on Facebook of people being ransacked 2 and 3 times in less than a year. People, what don't you understand about locking your vehicle? We don't live in a really royal community where it used to be you could go away from your home for 2 and 3 days and not lock your doors. It's not that way anymore, folks. Get over it. Lock them. Roll the windows up. Close your garage doors. I was on patrol the other night and witnessed snow blowers still sitting next to people's gates and nothing parked in the driveway. The homeowner's vehicle is parked out in the street, and there's a perfect view, whether it was a good snow blower or not, but it was a golden opportunity for somebody to make some easy money. It's just ridiculous that this continues to go on. We're all adults. So, please, bear with me. Lock up. Don't trust any of these hoodlums to just walk on by. They're not doing it, trust me. I ran 2 out of the neighborhood just the other night that they got upset with me because I was playing tag with them because I can't bird dog them, and they ran across Van Born Road and didn't come back, which is fine with me. But I did witness them checking cars and whatnot throughout the neighborhoods, and they tried to elude me, but they went to Romulus. With that, I'd like to thank the DPW for the good job they did on the snow removal. I think they did an excellent job, along with our police department, enforcing the snow emergency. I wish we had more troopers so that we could enforce it even stricter. I, for one, am sick and tired of having my driveway plowed shut because individuals don't want to move their vehicles off the street. But with that, I wish everybody a happy and safe holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Pride.
Nancy Pride, I live on Courier, so Vern, thank you for telling me about that. I had come out after the big snow. I didn't go anywhere because I don't like white knuckle driving. But when I came out finally to use my car and warm it up and everything, I noticed that my back behind the driver door on my Freestyle was like it was yanked, and it moved the little rubber gasket that kind of holds it tight to the until you pull it. So that means somebody tried to get into my car, but I keep mine locked. And it really kind of upset me that someone would do that, trying to get into my car, because I wish the alarm would go off if you even touched the thing, but they don't. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and all those in the audience and all those watching. It seems to me that when people want to run for council or mayor, all they have to do is get a petition and get signatures from registered voters in the city. But they could be disqualified, couldn't they, through the city clerk, if they're past due on their bills, their taxes, their water bill, such?
Yes, they're supposed to be current.
Well, maybe, is there any, once they get appointed or voted in on council, if they're past due on their bills, is there anything that, other than the penalty of overdue statements?
Not that I'm aware of. Just notifying them that they better be updated and pay their
So
bills.
they could be disqualified if they're trying to run for office, but once they're in, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Okay. Well, somebody on the council needs to pay their water bill on time.
okay. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, move the agenda.
Okay. The next item is item 10, items for the next agenda.
Are there any items for the next agenda, gentlemen? No? No? Okay, next
The
item.
next item is item 11, the consent calendar. There are two items before you.
Move without exception.
Support.
Was moved by Councilman Sanders, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now, comments from members of the city council. We'll start with Councilman Gabriel.
I just want to say thank you to all the businesses doing the redevelopment. I think this meeting was very productive and very good, especially with the new tenant that we're bringing in. On either direction that it goes, I wish you a good success. And also too, hopefully everybody has a good holiday, whichever you do celebrate, and Merry Christmas as well. And hopefully you end the year very well and safely. I think tonight with the moment of silence is just another reminder that we should all continue to travel safely, especially with the holiday season here. Not only for road conditions, but also any kind of substance consumption. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Just real quick, I want to thank Mr. McGrath, if I pronounced that correctly, and Mr. Schaefer. Welcome to the community, and thank you for helping us to improve the quality of life in our city. Also, I attended Toys for Tots at US 12 last Saturday, and it is, and then many organizations are involved with the Toys for Tots. I really find it to be a fantastic effort to be able to ensure that every child has a good Christmas. And I was assured that they had raised over $3,100 that evening, plus 9 boxes of toys and 4 bikes. And all of these gifts are going to help make it a better Christmas for children here directly in Wayne. And it was very humbling. It was a great event. I want to thank the US 12 team for making this effort here in downtown Wayne. I also want to talk a little bit about, I appreciate everyone's compliance with our last snow emergency. I felt that there was a lot of good compliance. There was a few that didn't maybe not get the message, but I just want to share out there, share with your neighbors that when we do have these snow emergencies, your cooperation in this matter is really important to everybody. Just for us as residents in our streets to be able to be, we don't want to hit your parked car, quite frankly, okay? And save yourself the trouble of going to the bump shop, because I don't think people leave notes these days, okay? So, it's a win-win for both of us. It helps us be able to drive safely down our own residential streets, and helps you from not having to go to the bump shop or the insurance company. And also, last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about something that was mailed to each of our homes, I think about 3 weeks ago. And we have a recycling program. And I know we're going to be getting some nice things from Santa in a week, and I'm sure we're going to have to make some room. And I'll tell you what, this is a fantastic program. They supply you with a bag with gently used clothes and home articles that can be easily donated at curbside. So I would encourage you to take advantage of that, because it comes down to help others. And I think it's a fantastic program. I think it's a good time of the year to remind people of that when you need to make room in your closet. And also, I just want to say, I've had the opportunity, these past few weeks of getting into the holiday spirit here in Wayne, and there's a lot of opportunities. I want to thank especially the Historical Society, because in the last couple of years, you guys have been just fantastic, just rolling out all these interesting programs about our community, and just kind of giving me that pride in this community, giving others that pride, reestablishing our history here, and you just keep rolling. And I see you're already rolling, and we haven't even started next year yet. You're already into May already, and it's just fantastic. And I encourage everyone to attend these. I mean, they're just really, truly fantastic. Look forward to next year as well. But as well, we have a lot of things going on in Wayne, to be able to get that holiday feeling, that spirit,
This is the
Okay,
3-minute
thank you.
mark.
And I
Thank
just want
you.
to say that, look at your neighbors, do a little snow shoveling for your friends, get that holiday spirit with you, okay?
Thank you. Councilman Racy?
Well, thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And then, pretty exciting tonight to have $7 million, a minimum of $7 million of investment into buildings to be built here. That's just phenomenal, and congratulations to the staff for all the work that it took to do that. And also thank you for all the staff that worked on the budget to get the numbers to where they're at. This has not been an easy job for anybody, and I really appreciate that. And also with the snow emergency, thank you to the DPW and the police. I was really glad to see that we were issuing tickets this time and having some consequences for not getting your vehicles off the road. I appreciate that, so thank you. Also want to mention, there's so many groups that have been doing some really great things, like Mark Chevrolet, the Goodfellows, the UAW, and even our police department is going out and providing Christmas for kids in our community this year. And I know that there's ones that I haven't mentioned, and it's really great to see everybody in the holiday spirit, and really making a difference in kids' lives in the community. I do appreciate it also. Don't want to be on a negative side, but I just want to mention for the city manager, I've had at least 4 complaints since the last meeting on the recycling hours, and just to keep us aware of what's going on with that. I know that I've been getting emails and phone calls on that the hours are not convenient to people, and I understand, and I've explained it to people, but it's still an issue that I think we're going to need to look to have it a little longer on some of those days. 3:30 is just really hard for people, and they come out, they've had their cars filled up with stuff, and they can't do it, and they're upset, and they take it out on me, and I don't like it. So, with that, again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Councilman Sanders?
I too want to sing the praises of the DPW for the way they handled the snow emergency. I live in the back 40, so to speak, and they had the streets plowed, and they had the leveled off, and it didn't even seem like they skipped a beat, and they need to be applauded for that. I also wanted to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a very wonderful 2018.
Thank you. Councilman Webster?
I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe out there. Even though we have a little bit of reprieve right now from the weather, it's going to start getting cold. So remember not to keep your animals outside too long. If you have any neighbors that are homebound, maybe try and check on them a little bit. And for our first responders, stay safe and warm out there. And I'll see everybody in 2018.
Thank you. Councilman Porter?
Thank you, Mayor. Team Power report. They are having a fundraiser for the Wayne Fire Department at Tubby's on South Wayne Road, December 23rd and 24th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You get the fire department will receive $1 of all sales of subs. Will go directly to the Wayne Fire Department, and also $5 off of all platters. The only requirement is they would like to have 48 hours notice on the platters before you pick them up. They need a notice to get them made up. I too say there was a great job on the snow removal. I think our DPW stood tall on that one. All I can say is have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and let's fight harder next year. We're getting there. It's slowly, bite by bite, but we're slowly eating it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I also would just like to say, if any of you out there still have not given any donations to charitable organizations or such this year, and you do have a few extra dollars, the Senior Alliance can use your help for the Meals on Wheels program. So if you do have, a few extra dollars change, if you could either write a check or stop by at the office on Vinoy and give them a donation. And also, they still can use some drivers, so, if by chance, you're free on Christmas Day and, family's out of town or something, it doesn't hurt to spend a few hours delivering gifts to people that are homebound and just want to see a friendly face. And then also, thank you to, again, the DPW. They chose to wait and plow the major, the side streets and such without causing any overtime. We waited until the next morning. We waited for the snow to stop, and that's why we called the snow emergency at 5 in the morning, because we felt that way people could get their cars in their driveways, be on their way to work and such, and we could take care of plowing the streets in the local streets. And again, thank you to them for all their hard work. We really do appreciate it. And in regards to the recycling issue, I sit on the Central Wayne County Sanitation Authority for our city, one of 5 communities, and I have been watching our tonnage rates since we've gone to the new recycling program. And I will tell you, our actual tonnage rate has decreased. So we were getting a lot of people dumping that were not Wayne residents, because the past 2 months, our tonnage rate has dropped. So this is saving us money.
Was it drastically?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. So it is a good thing. I know it's hard, but maybe, further down the road, we could look at maybe one Saturday a month, having it open and paying the overtime to someone. But right now, it is saving us money. And with that, please, everybody, be safe. Please. 1 minute. Just be safe and, enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of those different things. Thank you.
Adjourn.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Open.
Yes, Kathy. What?